Hi, this is Manny with Classic Auto Repair. We're looking at a 65 Ford Mustang convertible. Checking out a couple of repair item lists. We're going to start here with the car up on the lift. We're going to check out the brake system and suspension issues that we noticed on the inspection. I'm going to go ahead and point those out to you. First thing is we pulled all the brake, all the wheels, drums, took all the bearings off so we could access the linings and check the brakes. And as you can see here, the brakes are leaking. You can see on the linings how this is marking. So this is going to create a braking issue for you. If I pull back on the dust cap for the wheel cylinder, you're going to see fluid just run out of here. And that's not supposed to do that. That's your piston that's leaking right there. And these look to be pretty original, or they haven't been changed in a very long time. So I'm recommending that we go ahead and put wheel cylinders on the fronts and the backs. I can usually tell from the backside that this has not been changed in a very long time. Those fittings should be really clear and clean. Also, the brake hoses are showing severe age and wear. These will rupture, so I'm going to recommend these. While we're here, this is the stabilizer sway bar. These are the end link bushings, and they are worn and loose, and that's going to cause rattles when you drive down the road. This is the sway bar that goes across the front, and these bushings here are pretty trashed out, so I would recommend replacing those. Again, same situation over here. We've got leaking wheel cylinders. The bearings are pretty worn. I would recommend putting a set of inners and outers, new dust caps, which is this right here. The bearings, like I said, are showing some wear. When I went to check the play, it had a little bit too much play in the bearings. We're also going to go ahead and that time replace the bearing seals. So once we put a new bearing, get it repacked, we'll put some new seals on here to prevent any fluid or grease getting into the drum. The drums themselves look like they're in pretty good shape on all four. These are the rears, and they've got plenty of metal still on them, and they don't look warped. But this is the right rear. Tons of fluid right here where it's been leaking and dripping down the side of the backing plate. And you can see it on the back side as well. So again, these wheel cylinders have not been replaced in decades, and I would recommend on both sides, all four wheels, let's go ahead and get the braking system up where it needs to be. Let's clean the backing plates up. This one is severely leaking. As you can see, all the grease and the fluid that's been dripping out, and then of course that glazes the linings so they don't stop right. So this is the fixes to go ahead and just put all that brand new, and that'll get you back into good shape there. At the same time, I'd go ahead and replace the rear axle flex hose, which is this, with the other two front rubber hoses, and we'll go ahead and fix this leak that's up here on this front line. It's either from bleeding it, or it's not tight, or there's a leak right here at the hose itself, at the fitting. So I'll go ahead and recommend that line be replaced as well. And you can see it where it's been dripping and leaking down the car there. All right, the shocks look pretty good. They look like they've been replaced at some point not too long ago. They're the KYB gas shocks. Another issue on the fuel system while we're down here. You'll see some photographs that I'll include of the inside of the gas tank. It's filled with debris and rust, and there's a pickup sock. So that filtration that's inside of here is getting plugged up, which is reducing flow to the fuel. I recommend let's go ahead and get a whole new tank, put a new sending unit with a new sock on it. And then one of the problems right here is, even though they got a fuel pump here, they have no pre-filter. And this is normally where you're going to get blockage, and any debris that gets into this piston is going to cause a failure here. So we're going to go ahead and swap this out. We'll put a new unit, put a filter here. Then this will be brand new here, so you'll have clean gas going through the lines. We'll flush out the fuel line to the front of the car. And then on the front side, this is your mechanical fuel pump right here. This is an old crusty fuel pump. What we normally do is we put a block-off plate right here at the motor. We'll put a block-off plate and take this unit off. You don't need this, and it causes restrictions. And you can get leaks and all kinds of problems with this unit right here. So we would remove this because you'll have an electric fuel pump on the back of the car, and go right up to the top where the carburetor is. We'll have another filter located right here along the frame, and that will be your final filtration going up into the carburetor. All right, so let's pull the car down a little bit and I'll show you what's going on the top of the car. Okay. All right, on the top side of the carburetor, we have some issues here in the fuel system. So it's kind of a combination of several things that's causing the hard starts. And when I drove it, I felt a hesitation in the first gear taking off, and that's your accelerator pump and the leaking jets. You got a lot of plug passages that are going into this carburetor. It's been on there a while. My recommendation here, and you can see where the fuel's been leaking out of the top of the bowls on both of these at your vents. That means that your float is getting sticky, or the needle is sticking, and you're overflowing gas, which is creating some conditions of fuel puddling and things like that. And you don't want to have that on this car. My recommendation here is to go ahead and box this original carburetor up. If you ever wanted to rebuild it or service it, I have a company in Florida that will completely go through it, and they'll offer a 2-year warranty on it. And for just a little bit more money, instead of doing that, I would box this just so that you have it for the future, but I'd go ahead and upgrade it with a new carburetor. I would put a new Edelbrock carburetor on it with 600 CFN. It'll have an electric choke, so it won't use this thermal choke, which really doesn't work too well. The electric chokes are going to make it easy to start in the morning, and it works off an ignition circuit, so the power comes to here, just like on late model cars, and takes care of all of that. Your accelerator pump here is what's bad also, which is causing that hesitation and play there. Also, what's causing it is in your electronics here. You're having a weak fire from the distributor. When I open it up, the rotor has corrosion on it, and the contacts also are pitted. So my recommendation here is to upgrade it to a magnetic pickup solid state. That's what all new cars have, and they remove the contacts from the ignition system, which improves reliability starting when the car's been setting for several weeks. You're going to get good hot fire here. This is an original coil, so we're going to go ahead and replace the coil so that you're getting a high spark, something that's going to go to the spark plugs and really cause the detonation and a clean burn of the fuel. The spark plugs, when I pull the spark plugs, they smell of gas and they're fouled, which is the result of a weak fire and not having any advance. And the vacuum right here, this is a vacuum module. It advances the timing under acceleration from the carburetor vacuum source. It is failed. I tested the with my vacuum tool, so you're not getting any advance when you need it on the timing, and that's going to increase horsepower and torque when that's working correctly. So again, a couple failed systems here in your fuel delivery, in your spark and ignition from your electronics. Again, just some of the items that have just been on the car for a long time and in need. If you want to make it reliable, make it to where it's going to start up easily for you and you don't have to sit there and drain the battery trying to get this thing to crank up. Getting these items fixed will make it run a lot better and perform the way that it should on the road. Let me just run down the list to see if there's anything else I had. The alternator belt I would recommend replacing. That's this one here. It shows significant signs of wear. As you can see there, it's starting to unravel. Go ahead and put a new belt there, and that'll get that fixed up for you. Let's see. At that time, I would when we check the oil does have a fuel smell to it because the amount of fuel that's being dumped into the cylinders versus the fire, the ignition not having that hot fire. So one of the things I would recommend is go ahead and get an oil change done, get some fresh oil in there, get a new filter. And I had there optionally, I did find this decal, this Rotunda decal. If you want me to paint the new Motorcraft oil filter, I can get a decal and put it on just like this. Or if you don't want to go through the expense and the trouble for that, the labor, I can just put my Motorcraft FL1A oil filters that we use on these 289s, and that'll get you in great shape. Same filter, we just make it look cosmetically better if you want this same look. Check your master cylinder. You'll see a photo of that. It's really dark. It's got moisture in it, and it needs to be flushed out with some new brake fluid when we do the brake work. Other than that, when I went over the car, I didn't see anything else that is that's on my list for safety or an issue there. We will get some more miles on it once I get it roadworthy. Again, I'm a little concerned about that rear brake situation with all the fluids that are leaking out of it and out of the hoses. This is a situation that we need to get fixed so that the car is safe. That should pretty much cover it. I'm going to go ahead and send the video on to you, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to give me a shout. Thanks.